Let's start it up. Welcome back to the Cuyahoga Sound Podcast. I'm Chuck Schilling.
I'm Evan Stone.
All right, today we've got Mossom with us.
Hey. What's up? Do I got to get real close? I'm the annoying drummer that I don't know.
Turn your volumes down when Russ starts talking.
Blow out the levels, okay? Have you ever been in the studio? We don't need to leave. My producer usually puts me back here like, you're too loud!
Yeah, you.
It's all right. There's stuff
Gotta
all
watch
over.
the china when you're hitting high notes.
It's still good.
Well, no, thanks, guys. This is great. We're glad to be here, and
we don't get out much, pandemic and all.
especially lately.
So where's the rest of the band?
Yeah, they're
We've heard that. Yeah.
as our friends from Athens.
One
told
day
us,
you'll get a guitar player, and it'll all be golden.
our
Silver right now, huh?
friends of ours down in Athens.
Come on, Casa Nueva. We'll
yeah.
have no COVID moments.
They're another two-piece down there. And,
Hell no.
Hell no, thank you. Jeez, I was blanking.
You're in Athens. That's the first thing I thought of.
And thank you. And they did a little ditty when they started their shows. They're like, okay,
Shout
this
out
is
to Casa Nueva.
yeah, Casa Nueva and hell no. They said, okay, this is our 140th show with our guitarist didn't show up, so we're just gonna start playing. And I'm like, that's good for a two-piece.
However, the second time we were down there with them, they had a guitarist. So
Did they? I don't remember that.
Who's this clown?
Those traders.
Don't encroaching on our two-piece thing here.
Right.
You really can't tell. Like, if you didn't know, a lot of your songs, because the bass, I don't know if you're splitting channels or
I
something.
am.
Okay.
Splitting hairs channels.
Yeah, because you hear that overdrive coming through completely different, but it sounds full still. Where a lot of times you throw that distortion on bass and you just lose that bottom end.
Listen, we've got some other bass players in the room. I'm kind of a tone snob. I mean, that's really the biggest part of what makes this project work is I just keep sort of refining what I've got. Now, I kind of stopped on the bass side of the house, but now I've got a Helix for the guitar output, and I'm just using a Morley splitter.
Okay.
And I leave it on at all time. When I first started, I would punch it on and off, and it's like it would suck the life out of the bass. It's like, where did it go? Well, it was literally losing, signal.
Yeah.
So once I got the signal chain down, it was great. I think a big part of my sound, I did upgrade. We had this trip to Sweetwater that we took during the pandemic. We took our producer and Madno, Mike Williams, who's kind of my bass tech, but he's really a multi-instrumentalist. And I recommend this to any musician out there in Cleveland. You call them in advance and say, hi, we're so-and-so from Cleveland, and we're coming to Sweetwater, and this, that, and the other thing, and we were bringing our producer, and this is how we rolled it. And we got up there, and we met with every other VP, the artist relations director. They gave us an hour tour of the facility.
No shit.
And
Whole
then
liaison,
we all had
it was
intent to buy. I think I was the only one who was like, I'm not going to buy anything today.
Oh, we had intent.
I walked away with a mess of boogie head that just sold me. It was one of the new ultralights, but I just couldn't believe it. And
I think
you bought a DW signature.
We walked out of there. We walked out of there spending
Dynaudios.
about $6,000. I think we walked out of
So
there.
they kind of knew that.
Yeah.
Let's give them the golden treatment, and then gold seems to be the word tonight.
But did you go down the slide?
We did not. Pictures
Oh.
of the slide.
All right.
we
They were very proud that they only had 2 out of 4,000 employees. They have an incredible sales force there now.
Yeah.
they had
They only had 2 people that had COVID. This was November of 20.
yeah, and they had an
Right? Or was that
auditorium.
21?
I don't.
No, it was 20.
Yeah, I was gonna say
all
these
blur.
words. Yeah, these last couple of years are a blur.
Who knows where
But they
we
had
are.
a whole 200-person auditorium that you could stand down on the stage with no mic, and they could affect your voice in a myriad of ways, and you could just talk like I'm talking now, and it would be echoing. And they had made an acoustically
You need to take your musical up
engineered room that they just hit a button if you want to sound like you're in the Grand Canyon or whatever, or Wrigley Field or whatever, and you just be there talking normal, no mic, and it would just shoot
Evan,
around the room.
You
It was
got to know. They
pretty crazy.
They throw me up there like, come on, Moss, sing. And I get up on this stage and I start singing, and it's totally dead. They don't have any of this simulation of this theater active yet. And they're like, okay, now, small venue. And it felt like someone was pulling my voice out
Whoa.
into the room.
This is
Like
in
from
Fort
here.
Wayne, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. How long of a drive is that from Cleveland?
Not bad.
Not too bad.
An hour and 45.
Was
Two,
it?
2 hours.
No, it was.
I think it's around 3.
It's around
It's around
three
3
or
from
four,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
I drive to West Lafayette. He's like 3.
Yeah.
Our
Give 'em a
producer
call,
over
just say
there.
we're coming in,
I mean,
we're
if
a fan.
you have intent and you have a theme that you're going in for, whether it's audio, guitar, whatever,
Yeah.
you just say, hey, we're coming.
Reach
We're going to
out.
spend some money, and they'll have a liaison for you.
That
Hey,
is
I've got
so
a little
cool.
secret,
It's
and
really-
I don't know if it's a secret, but I'm going to share this. If Sweetwater sends you the little bag of candies.
Yeah.
Okay. You let your account director know what your favorite is, and that's what you get. I said, I just want Bit-O Honey. And after my next purchase, I got all Bit-O Honey, and my
Oh,
wife's
wow.
like, what is the big deal? It's like, you don't understand. They care about me.
I can't tell you how
Last
many
time.
I've bought that where everybody's got the same price. It's like, but they have candy. Like,
Yeah,
and
like,
it's here
I mean,
today.
and a nice little note, and their newsletter kicks ass.
Yes.
and it's definitely like it's like the musicians group made for us.
Last time I
dreamers.
had a bit of honey was when I got a ukulele from them.
You know what to do.
That's funny.
Wow, I did not know
Just
that
order
hack.
some more instrument cables.
Yeah, no.
And
All right.
make a little note.
My
I
guy's
love-
name is
love those
Corey
Smarties,
something. I'll
right?
let him
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
No, because every time you make an order, they call you up or they email you and say,
Right.
hey, so blah, blah, blah. And so, next time you talk to your account guy, just tell him
I'm
this.
sure they're excited about, they were talking about their program. They have their Gear Fest, and it's been virtual for a couple
Yeah.
of years. But, they have this massive campus. They have some other companies they've started, and they're like an investor in Fort Wayne startups. But they have a large soundstage out back, and they said it was something like they can accommodate like 12,000 people
yeah.
or something. It's like big. And so, and then they have an indoor cafe where you can play. So, even bands from Cleveland. I mean, it's a place that you can reach out and
Yeah, I've
go
only
up there
been
and
there
play.
once, but
It's a pretty interesting place.
it is a very cool place. Yeah, you can just
They
sit
just
there all day.
expanded too. They
Yeah.
actually, I'm like, you expanded that? Like it was already so. It's like Willy Wonka of musical.
It really is.
It is.
They
Yeah.
doubled their sales force like in a year. It went from like
Largest
200
in
to
North
400,
America,
just
third
crazy.
largest in the world, I think, or something.
Yeah, I think they were taking over some
Way to
places
go.
in Europe too. Last I
All
heard,
in
so.
corn country.
Yeah.
Let's take a second and introduce our guests. Like who?
Who are these,
Who are these
man?
guys?
Yeah.
Who are these
Yin's
guys
guys,
talking
Yin's
to
guys.
us? You know, this is not a podcast about Sweetwater.
I was going to say,
Yeah, man, we're making a plug. We'll be up there next month, fellas.
Cool.
Looking
Next
for some more bass
podcast, we
gear.
will be sponsored by Sweetwater.
Yeah, right on.
I've been
I'm gonna get you a sponsor.
all of my drum covers. I'm in my Sweetwater shirt.
That's
like
right.
everything I put on YouTube.
It's
I'm
a
like,
great
come
shirt.
on.
It's a great shirt.
I'm like, see me, come on.
All right.
take
So
some
Mossom, power duo from Cleveland, Ohio,
Thank
bassist
you.
and drummer. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
yeah, my name is Russ Herbert. I'm the drummer, and as a two-piece, I got plenty of work to do, and that's all I do. I haven't tipped into vocals or trigger pads or anything. I'm just strictly the drummer.
Well, I think you're kind of playing that down. I'm David Allen Moss.
The light
and
lifting.
The reason I use Allen is there's a whole lot of other David Mosses in Northeast Ohio, so I just started. That's my grandpa's name, so I just started. It's my middle name. So my name's in the name a little bit there.
Cool. Did the name come
Bass
from your name?
vocalist. Yeah, you know what? I got a quick story. Rich Weiss, who was one of the founding, he was the assistant director of Ingenuity when it first started, Ingenuity Fest. And Rich worked with me at Moss Media for a while as a project manager, and we were working with this Red Room Revolution with this, which was Kathy Penzika during the Campbell administration and mayor, and we were up in Key Tower, and we were having to come up with a brand name for Tech Week, and like a whole theme, right? And because Cleveland's tech community was really trying to make a play and move more people down, and my current business partner Michael D'Aloia was a big part of that. So we squirreled away. She's like, "Go figure out what you're gonna do with this thing," and I said, well, this shit's out of sync. Like, why don't we call it Tech Sync? And he's like, David, that's not awesome. that's Mossom. And so I ran with the nickname for a while. It had an E on it, but when we got together and we were looking for a name for the band, we realized it was a palindrome. And when we lost our guitar player to some, pressing issues, we dropped the E, and then there we go. Awesome.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome was born.
So you're talking about adding. Have you ever thought about adding any of the trigger pad things going in there?
Yeah, we've talked about it a bunch. Actually, David's been pushing me for
5 years.
a couple years for that. I just haven't graduated to there yet, and I don't know why. I'm not like a purist or anything. I just
You might be a little bit.
maybe a little bit, but I do a lot on those acoustics. If I turn over to the pad, I want to make sure that.
Talk about your influences. That's very important.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm definitely, my main influence is Copeland, I think, because he's, I've always been,
the drums.
he's percussive, and, and I think I saw an interview with him where I think Sting was just annoyed with him because he just never plays, he never just stays on the beat. He's always got the backbeat, the offbeat, and he just kind of would say, you never stay on.
Yeah.
And that was just something he did. He was always trying to invert and twist around and find a new way to do things. So that's what I do. I 7 years we've been together, and if we played any single song 1,000 times, it's never been played the same way twice by me. So I'm all over the place, which is, it's a kind of a blessing and a curse because sometimes I overreach. The CPU goes, and I'm like, I got to get back to the song.
Where is one?
Yes, I was like, okay. But that's a good thing about a rhythm section. We're
whole
both
band is a
holding it
the
together.
whole band is
so,
a rhythm section.
so
Like, come
sometimes-
back.
As long as we both don't go like this. So Copeland's always been an influence. A lot of my formative years drumming were Copeland and Pert, obviously. And, so I was flirting with that prog, but I was never really mathematical enough to really get into the off time and the prog stuff. So I just kind of stuck with the straightforward. And then now I'm getting into some really high lofted goals of trying to be more like a Gavin Harrison, Thomas Lang type of guy, which is unattainable as far as where I'm sitting right now. But, I could always try.
I feel ya.
So, they're the type of drummers that make you want to quit and play all at the same time.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I'm going now. And Thomas Lang is just like, whenever I want to really just see someone like just be odd. But then Gavin Harrison's the same, but he's got a little more, I think, soulful edge to him. So I kind of like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not prog. I'm not, four beats straight. I'm somewhere, shake it up and throw it in the middle.
All right.
Wow.
Or so I think. I don't know.
Oh,
You
man,
might have a
that's great,
different.
man. I need to hear you talk about these things. Like the whole I don't play it the same thing twice. I get it.
Yeah, it's
But I get accused of being all over the place, and by the producers, like.
which was very odd. We were in
not really the case.
We were in the studio and we were recording a single, and we do our thing, and then one of the producers made a comment. He's like, "Boy, if Russ weren't keeping you on the rails," and I'm like, "Me? Wait a minute. How did that happen?"
Yeah, I don't.
All of a sudden, I became the guy on the rails.
First of all, thank God for the click track. I mean, when you
Oh,
learn
yes.
to work with that, it's really nice when you're layering new parts. I think some people are a little afraid of that, but you learn that that's really critical at the scratch take phase, at the tracking phase. We had some issues where my scratch vocals were bleeding into the overheads. So when he was doing his sessions for the LP, it was hard to get that personal mixer just so, because my scratch vocals weren't necessarily on. We won't be doing that again. It'll be discreet, or I'll be in a cage somewhere, a padded room.
Yeah, that was rough.
But
Did you have to retake all the drums?
No, actually, I nailed it.
This-
I got lucky and I nailed it.
no. This guy's a machine. I mean, he did all 12 tracks in a weekend session at a room.
So we're currently in the middle. Eric
Oh
Woods.
no. We're in the final chapter.
Oh, we're the final. Oh, yes. Okay, I was being conservative. We're in the final chapter
Bad, man.
after
Yeah.
a 5 year
What?
window between our EP.
No,
4 years.
Well, who knows?
Yeah, right. I think I hit it on the head.
You know.
Yeah, so we're now about 4 to 6 years from our first EP release.
Yeah, but we had some singles along the way.
Self-titled. Yeah, we have not
go
been
try.
dormant. We have not been dormant,
Yeah.
but now we are we're 75% through our LP, and it's just we've really been pushing hard in the last couple of weeks, and we've really done some really cool things. So we're excited. We were hoping for a 2/22/22 release.
We're gonna have to just
hammer the twos.
No. We'll squeeze a single out on. I mean, if
Maybe
we don't
so.
squeeze,
about two of them?
I'll just do something on Wednesday. On Thursday it'll be out because that's a great number for a band like us. 2/22/22 won't come again. So there will be a Mossom single live on 2/22/22. I just said it.
Okay, you heard it here
Keep
first.
the palindrome
No, there's
alive.
enough in the can, right? There's enough in the can. We had a session. I got a fun story. When I was a kid, my dad was an audiophile, and we were just saying, I grew up in Chardon.
Hey, real quick, you could wait till the 21st, or you could do the 21st too instead of the 22nd. Keep the palindrome alive.
All right.
Yeah. One on the
21 with the
21st, one on the 22nd.
Yeah.
That's just more dates to do stuff. That's
good.
good.
Yeah, man.
We can run with this palindrome thing, two-piece
Well, I'd
thing
like to
all
run with
night.
it a little harder.
All night.
I just saw a Proggy jam band last Saturday. They're one of my favorites. They're called Dopapod.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I know
okay. They're all
Dopapod.
palindromy.
Oh, nice.
That's very cool. There's a video out on social of him walking through the snow, and I just so happened he did this stomp. And when he stomps his feet, the drums start playing, and he's in this strobe can. We're just experimenting with lo-fi video. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. When he's done with this, whatever the fuck you were doing, excuse me,
We're all good.
he stomps, and it's all reverse, back to where it started. Like this little, hey, good times. This is going to be a quick one, but I helped my father build some Dynaudio kit speakers back in the 80s. And they came from a group out of Wisconsin called Audio Concepts. And
On Ferris Avenue.
well, no, we built these in Burton, but anyway, on Broadwood Drive. But I always coveted these speakers because they're so transparent. Like when an image is so wonderful that you can hear it back here up front, but you can't really hear where it's emanating from. Just a beautiful sounding set of three-ways, hand-wound crossovers, the whole thing. Well, I just inherited those, so to speak. And we had, on Saturday, this past weekend, we had a full audit of our LP, using them almost like studio monitors, but in my great room, right? And just going through Reaper, going through project file by project file, looking at the notes we had. We're using Teams, so we're actually keeping like good notes in electronic form. And to hear all of the work of his drumming and everything we've done to date, it's pretty like, you're just kind of wowed. Like, how did we, you know, when you go into the studio, you're like, wait a minute, we just did that? Like, how? That's really where we're at. So it's pretty, it's just pretty special that we didn't throw it away or give up on it. Because I think that really right now the last 2 years has been hard for a lot of bands, and we all have friends that aren't playing anymore.
Yeah.
Or maybe they own a club and their club's not open anymore. You know.
Yeah.
So we feel pretty lucky.
About a title. Have you guys done the announcing yet for all of this? Or?
No, but the big special thing by the end of the night Saturday was Russ says, "Okay, Rob, let's listen to it in the order." Because we figured out this is the order of the record, like as if it's a concept record. It really isn't, but it's important. What's the opener? What's the closer? What's in the middle? What's side B? What's side A? And we did. He found a way to tab up every project file, so we listened one after the other. So we have the order, but we don't have the name.
No, we got a few. We got a few in the hopper. A lot of, dealing with two. Second album, the two of us.
Well, yeah.
We're coming back to that again.
Yeah. Maybe it's just self-titled again.
I don't know. I got a couple cool ones for two.
Dose.
Yeah.
So I got to know about you
No
guys
big reveal on that.
as basically probably the official combat sports band of Ohio.
That is accurate.
Yeah, sure. It's for sure. It's getting that way.
Well, that's how Chuck and I met. about 10 years ago, I'd say.
Somewhere around
roughly,
there, yeah.
roughly 10, 11 years. And
You were in
we were-
Afghanistan? What?
yeah, no, we were both in Menor, the other battleground.
Yeah, right. Get out of
the
my way! I'm trying
suburban
to get to Taco
Karen
Bell.
We got more stories. All right.
We do. It's a rough place.
Annabelle's.
Yeah, watch it. You watch those 50s diners.
Yeah.
So Chuck and I met. He was actually still actively fighting, I believe, when I started there. So he was kind of one of the early guys. I started with MMA, and he was one of my instructors / rolling partners for MMA for a couple of years there. And then I slowly transitioned into Muay Thai, and I'm now a certified Muay Thai instructor through the WTBA, and I still teach over at Revolution Fight and Fitness with a Jarn Juice.
Hell yeah.
And I see Chuck every once in a while coming in doing a catch wrestling or an MMA class every once in a while. But yeah, Chuck and I have known each other for about 10, 11 years. And we have this nice little family of fighters, between yourself and George Comer and a bunch, and Tim Stafford and all these guys, Logan and everyone. That's just been this group of good guys in the fight world in Northeast Ohio. We've kept that family going as well, and we've injected our band family into a lot of physical events. So
Word choice.
we are. It is weird, and you know what? We started with we should get with Red Bull. We should get with Red Bull because we have high energy.
Well, we never reached out.
But we wanted to turn down that aisle.
You get with nobody if you don't reach out.
I did reach out to Red Bull Records, I think, and I just never heard back.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
A couple of years ago.
Okay. Sure.
Red Bull's
Still
got a
waiting on
record
that.
company.
It was, I don't know if it was Red Bull Records, but it was some label within the music
For
world of Red
placements,
Bull.
Red Bull would be a good fit for us. It's, like that Mount Hollow track that we did. That sort of.
I was listening to that on the way home today.
Yeah, that speed surf, track. That would be really great. And I think the way you do that is like an agency. You'd put it to some stock surfing or some stock racing video, and you say, hey,
Yeah.
you can't wait for a placement agent to always represent your music. You got to kind of go out there and ask. That's the thing. Come on, all
gotta
the
be
musicians
bold.
in this town. What do you want? I mean, you don't really get anything if you don't ask. We kind of talk about this like we were nothing, and we started asking, and then you play every major venue because you asked. It's like, you can't, what are they going to say? No. And then, of course, you got to go through that sort of period of, hey, you want to play a showcase? Like the showcases at the Agora? And
We've all been there.
Here's some tickets to sell if you want to make some money.
right.
Hey, we really like you guys. We want to book you. Okay, here's 100
Like
tickets.
that night we
Let's
opened for Trapped, and like, wow, man, I'm impressed. You sold more tickets than Trapped.
That was, you know what? And
But it was a great.
I'm glad we
great
played that
time.
show
Come on.
because that was shortly thereafter they closed that
Yeah, we
Agora,
had a couple
the
shows.
Tavern.
That room was perfect for us. All
In
right?
the ballroom?
Big,
Yeah.
dark, boxy-ass room that made two
No, the theater.
bombastic
Oh,
players.
that's why I said ballroom.
Yeah, is it the theater?
No,
Is it
well, I don't
called
know
the
what-
Agora
ballroom?
Theater.
Did
The
they
theater's
call
the
it
big.
ballroom?
So they call
theater's
the
the
small
big.
room the big room. Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah.
it was the ballroom as well. They said they couldn't afford to staff that. That's why they closed it. I don't know.
But no, we got a
Is
nice.
that AEG running that now? That's when it closed down.
I think so. I think they're doing.
But
For the
playing that
remodeling.
room was.
Have you been there
was
since?
A good room for
Have you
us.
been there recently?
No.
The
Well,
last
they put a
couple
lot of-
years.
They did put some good.
It looks completely.
It actually has
Oh, really?
HVAC.
It's,
yes.
I haven't seen them do anything.
It's kind of nice,
They haven't done anything in the ballroom that I've seen. That's where they like set up the merch tables and the coat
Okay.
check.
Okay, just
Sure.
a little,
Yeah,
yeah, a
you go
little
in there and
common
then you
area.
go into the big room, and it kind of feels like you're at Playhouse Square.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they dressed
a
it up, right?
substantial stage. Well, we played the Spring Sound a few years back, and they were toggling between the two, and we were hoping to get the big one, but we
was
got
it the Moxies? There was
Yeah.
a lot of good bands on.
A lot of
that
good
was
bands,
a mixer. It was kind of cool how they fire up the stage, then fire up the small
Oh,
stage,
yeah.
and
We'd
that
set up
was
over
that
here.
was a good.
The Autumn
showcase.
Encore festivals.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those.
so we got a nice big, 20 by 20 poster with a CD on it of the Agora, and it's like, wow, glad we got that because we might never get that again with
Yeah.
that Agora logo in the back. On
Some of the better crowds,
stage.
like people there to hear music,
Yeah.
like and there to hear rock. So like we also some of our best shows have been at the Hi-Fi. Come on,
Lakewood.
I just call it the old name. Man, I'm having like post-COVID.
Blind Lemon was the old name, right?
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
my very first gig. when I was
Hi-Fi,
18.
that's what it is, right?
No, it
No, it's
isn't.
not.
Hi-Fi Club is now.
Come on, someone chime in.
Pause this.
I've got nothing.
I'll think of it.
David?
I don't know.
The phone
Over
friend
there,
did not work.
over there across from the Fantasy.
Yeah, the hi-fi is
Terrible. Don't worry
Foundry.
about it. Thank you.
Foundry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Got it.
So we actually made some
Evan with the
connections at
call,
the Foundry.
yes.
Thank you, Evan. I'm an asshole. And the shows we play in that room, because it's kind of again, it's like a box, kind of boomy. It's a near-death experience loading your gear in and out of there. You go down
Yeah, that
and
pitch
up.
black, two
Yeah,
steps
yeah.
down,
The cinder
two steps
blocks,
up.
and you're like, hold on.
But it's a good room. We've had fun there. We've had fun, and
It's a good place to cut your teeth, you know.
it
You like-
definitely is.
Yeah.
It's raw and gritty, and the people that go there are
We did a
gritty and raw
Halloween
and-
show there, and we went over to
dressed up
Chelsea's
in gi,
and
yeah.
wore geese, black and white, you know.
That was fun.
And then the one stipulation was you had to do at least one cover, and we did Running Down a Drain, but it was like this really bombastic rendition. It's like it was like an Asian Godzilla version of Tom Petty's Running Down a Drain. Bow, 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 bow. It was a beautiful day. You know, it was just like, what are you doing? But it was a crowd pleaser.
And of course, the original song is here, and I'm playing it.
Well, instead of Jeff,
Like, we're going this fast on
I mean,
this.
that's a Jeff Lynne enterprise. You know, they
Yeah.
recorded the bass drum separately from the snare. You know, his whole style.
It's all about that pace, man. You push
Totally
that
different.
pace.
Totally different way. So
So,
that's a highlight. I enjoyed
Yeah.
playing that club. And
So,
you
yeah,
know,
so
your
we're-
band and our band played right before all these places closed. You know, are we like a bad luck charm? Because we played the Hard Rock for that Hard Rock.
Oh yeah, in fact, that was our first connection, right? The Hard Rock Casino contest for the
New Moon.
New Moon Rising.
Oh, Hard Rock Rising.
Yeah,
Hard Rock
y'all had more
Rising.
dancers. Y'all had more dancers.
You brought in
They
a bunch of. You brought in like 20 people.
They got a.
That's how you win those things. I mean,
They-
No,
Yeah.
you guys planted the right
Look,
seed.
we
No,
know
that
what's like that. That's how you do it, and then we ended up winning the whole
You
thing.
did.
Yeah.
Did you
All the
really?
way to the
Wow.
end.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
did
We
you
brought-
play out at not MGM, out at the Hard Rock Northfield?
Yeah, on the big stage, and it was the day after Steve Miller Band played there. The day after, and like I
Wow.
remember
Could you
walking
feel
out on
his
that.
essence?
I could. Yeah, I remember
about
walking
that?
out there being like, you know, who is just like in this presence.
I mean, Jungle Love is driving me crazy, right?
Who's Steve Miller?
Oh, he's some songwriter.
Please
Oh,
don't.
sorry.
Please don't.
We'll talk after.
Yeah.
He does the Family Feud.
Oh, that guy, dude, that dude's hilarious. I didn't know he said.
Don't you remember the
Survey
Price is Right?
says.
Remember the Price is Right? Survey says.
So yeah,
Get all the X's on that one.
those Battle of the Bands, you know, they say crowd participation is part of it, and that's like most of it.
Yeah,
Really?
our
If-
crowd
if
was
you're-
there, but they didn't get up. They didn't leave. They didn't really
No,
get up.
we had a.
Bring
we
a
had-
bunch of fighters. They aren't dancers.
I don't know. George is pretty boisterous though. George Comer, I love
George
that guy.
is.
Georgie. Yeah, he comes out. So yeah.
Georgie likes to, he
So
puts
he had-
nasty grams on his T-shirts, homemade T-shirts, and they'll come right in front of the.
Let me tell a funny George story, and this was great. We had our CD release party, and I think it was the CD release, or it might have been
What, at
another
the
show
Beach-
at the
Beachland?
Beachland
Yeah.
Tavern. And at the time, I was at a new job, and it was a really good company of people that wanted to be together and hang out. So they're like, "Oh, when's your next show? We'll all come out." I'm like, "Well, it just so happens we're doing a CD release," and so they all came out. So I had about 20 people from my work at the show. And then in comes Nikolai and George and a couple other guys from the gym. I'm like, "Oh, glad you showed up." Next thing you know, George starts yelling, "Russ, pull your dick out!"
And his shirt. Then he
And he had
realized
the
he
shirt.
takes his jacket off. Hashtag PYDO.
And he's standing there and he's all proud, and I'm like loving it.
Nobody's
but then over
doing
here,
that
I'm
at-
looking at this table going,
That's just not.
"Hi, I just
appropriate
met you
for
all in
the
the last, couple
tavern.
of months. Hey." So yeah, that was talk about a cross of two worlds right there.
That was when I
but,
had a loner bass. Remember Chris
That's
Marone from Cleveland Music? He passed away shortly after that. But my bass went down.
Yeah, we
What
had
the
some
hell was
equipment
wrong?
issues
Oh, I
early
had
on.
a double warp in the neck or something. Like the action was like an inch high. I'm like, I can't play. So he loaned me his bass. Yeah, like the day of.
Wow.
And it
We
was
had
a
a
really
little film
foreign
of it.
object. I was like, my God. What,
It looked like one of those old polka basses, man. It was like the red marble with the black
No,
plate on it.
he's like, it's really great, but it was like one of these Chinese knockoff basses, and I'm playing it, and what would be the inlays were stickers, and they started peeling off, and I'm like, oh my God, get out of my way! they're like cutting into my strings and stuff, these little stickers.
Wow.
But it was, hey, he still saved the day. He saved the day.
You know, I think that Hard Rock Rising thing was, we already knew you. Didn't we do something at Mahal's together?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was
Yeah.
before or
We-
after.
Yeah, we didn't
And
really.
with Adam Boo's
I don't know if we ever went
Golden
back.
Streets of Paradise.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we played, yeah. Yes.
Good
Yeah,
times.
Real good times, man. Mahal's.
No, who was that band that came in to play that headline, that one, that Sonic Youth or something?
No, we did not play.
Not Sonic Youth, but they had their
I
little...
would remember because I'm a big Kimmy Gordon
Sonic
fan.
Youth is a little too. I
Not-
don't know if their crowd would fit into Mahal's.
Yeah. No.
They're kinda
youth.
big.
Youth.
I saw them
youth.
at
Anyway.
Lollapalooza too. You know. No, actually, I think it was
Saw them
four.
at
They opened for
Arab
us.
They
League
were
of
Smashing
Coffee House.
Pumpkins.
Um,
Maybe Thurston Moore. We might be able to get on a bill with him.
so, yeah, circling back. I'm circling back because I know he's got onto the high energy thing. So, yeah, we have started steering the ship towards going back to the fighting thing. We've been playing sporting events lately.
It's fun.
We've been playing marathons. We've been playing
Oh.
fundraisers. Like we just played the Green Beret. I don't know if you went to that Green
No,
Beret.
I didn't make it there.
The Green Beret Foundation had a special forces fundraiser of boxing
Yeah.
at the Rev, and so we played for that. We donated, our time for that and played, and it was actually a pretty cool time. They had like 16 bouts, and then we played before, we played a little at intermission, and then we played after. And
And then we also ended up, because we bought this big EV, 4,000 watt system from a strip club in Ashtabula. And we had bought it years
Is that the
ago.
Rare Cherry?
No, we really, I don't even know. That was Connie's place up.
that's as interesting as that
Come on,
story gets.
that turned into the cause. I can
You guys-
tell you I spent many a night
You guys
on those all ages
disinfect
nights.
the
We
hell
dusted
out
the
of that
glitter
thing.
off
Well,
the top.
there's some sheeny stuff on the tops of those figures. I don't know what it's from.
We got a great deal.
But the story is, we ended up kind of DJing. So our producer was there, and he brought his son to help with run gear and stuff. And I said, "Come on, man!" So we started playing all this great '80s hair metal. At one point, we played, Eye of the Tiger. I mean, it was great. We had a great time. And then at the end, when we just kind of played this free set while people were packing up, I mean, they had the ring broken down because they rented the whole ring. And this is the old Fisher body plant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's this incredible old shed roof, huge building. Yeah. And we're playing, and there was this whole other group of people that were there with one of the fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And they were dressed up like they were going out clubbing, man. I mean, one guy looked like Prince. And we weren't on a stage. We were right on the court floor. And they started coming up. I'm like, what? They're dancing to Mossom. They started really coming up on the scene. They start break dancing. One guy comes up on the stage and he goes to grab my other bass on the rack.
that was
I'm
where
like,
a little too close. He had his Yamaha jazz bass sitting there, brand new, and he's like, "Oh, I can do this." And
So then he comes up to me, and
mid-song,
I'm in the middle of singing and playing, and he goes, "You be gonna go drinking." I'm like, this is a different crowd today. And then he gets out right in front of me, and he starts doing his moves, man. His George Jefferson kind of a thing. And all of a sudden, he whips around.
Oh yeah.
And whammo! Like right onto the floor. You could hear his skull hit the court floor. And everybody's like, "Whoa, we're still playing, right?" And I'm
I
like,
didn't
"Is
see
it
any
gonna
of this.
get
I was
up?"
concentrating.
I'm like watching. He got up and he's like,
Minor
So
delay in the
sometimes,
program.
like the unpredictable thing of these things, like the marathons that we've been playing. You kind of set your men, so you got cash. It's good rent money, right? And we bring all our own gear and a generator, and we set up at 9th and Lakeside for the Cleveland Marathon. And the runners come by and they're like, "Yeah!" And they pull out cameras and they come up and they take pictures and selfies with the band. So it's like there's a whole lot of randomness and excitement, and then we set a list and we play for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
We play our entire, plus songs we just thought we left in the ditch 3 years ago. Oh, hey, what about this one, man?
It's like, these are new people. We could
So
go
it's
back to the
kind of
beginning,
a-
but I'm like, well, there's
It's
so
kind
few
of a
people
thing that
standing
we're
around.
going to probably do this summer. We're going to do
Yeah.
Columbus Marathon. We're just going to do it.
And it's cool. We
It's
say,
just
we say,
fun.
it's
And
like,
people come on Facebook, like, that was great, you made the day. We're like, all right.
we're at like at mile
it's like-
14
it's
where
like
the
a
paint
rehearsal
starts
for
setting
us.
in a little bit, but they're
Yeah.
kind of fading, but not quite. And then all of a sudden they got this driving rock beat, and they're like, oh yeah,
No,
I
and then
needed
of course
that.
I'm like, come on! They're like, let's go! And we're already playing, but I just throw that shit out, and they're like,
Well, I
who are
said
these guys?
It's bossy.
Yeah.
I said it's a great show. We played for 10,000 people, 150 at a time for 2.5 minutes. So they come down the street, you say, okay, there, you rock, and then they go away.
Like an assembly line concert.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, it was a
No,
lot of
I'm like,
fun.
are any more coming? Oh, they come in Akron. We were at the the Bridgestone. Look, so we were at mile 7.8. And there was a hill, and you could see a whole groups of them coming on. Like, come on, this one, keep staying on it. And if you repeat, nobody gives a damn. Like,
Yeah.
you can play a couple of high-
Yet. We're like, what do we play next? What do we play next? And we're like,
Now the downside is you get there and it's dark. Like you're showing up at 5:30 in the morning to set up.
I know, yeah, on a Sunday morning,
Yeah,
that was a
it's
little
that
different.
kind of blows. But,
But once
then
you start playing, then it's like, it's timeless.
it's adventure
Yeah.
time. It's adventure time.
How's,
And I-
It's a little Mossom like
how's,
fetish.
how's singing that early?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never have a problem. Knock
One
wood.
time, my old band went to the Cleveland Browns tailgate that early. We went in line and we set up a couple tents and tried to play, tried to market that way for everyone that was coming. They shut
Yeah.
us down.
Oh,
but
who shut you down?
the police
Shut it down.
needed some kind of permit to actually do that. But
Were you in Muni, like in
in
around?
Muni? Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
I'm surprised.
The first
The shit
three
that goes
lots.
down
Right,
in the
right.
tailgate time at the
Like- I
Muni
mean,
lot,
for
and they're gonna
Christ's
sakes,
some
they got
music.
heat tents.
They've got
No.
DJ tents and things blasting.
You
all
ever
over
see the
place.
couch driving around?
Yes.
No,
That's me
we
and my
did
buddy.
play
Is
for-
it really?
we did
Yeah,
play
yeah.
for
We were couch
until about
guys.
7:30 a.m. until they did that.
Okay.
But
Well, apparently they're
early,
having-
dark. Yeah,
They're having
that's a different-
busking for
Oh yeah, the
NBA All-Star game.
Yes.
That's right.
Listen,
And,
CLE has been part of that.
Yeah, well,
getting it set up.
How about that? We put
It's a nice
an
segue into our
application in.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Thank you, Listen Klee. Yeah.
Listen, CLE. Yeah.
9 mood-based mixes on Spotify, playlists on Spotify to choose from. Very cool.
Yeah. Consisting all of Ohio, Northeast Ohio bands.
Yeah.
Musicians, singers, DJs.
You name it.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
So when you see that, you say CLE, right?
CLE.
They were
That's
here.
what we say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Not
because
Klee.
I watched this thing with Machine Gun Kelly, and he was explaining Ohio terms, and one of them was CLE, and he goes, "Clee, I'm not really sure what that one is." I'm like, "It's
Yeah,
CLE, man. What's wrong with you? You're from here."
I'm not even sure
Well,
he
you can
knows
take-
where his legs are.
You can take everything he
Love you,
says
man.
with a grain of salt.
All right.
And a shot of this great Cleveland bourbon.
Hey, pour me a glass.
Cleveland Underground bourbon
Hey,
whiskey.
can I
You know,
shout
that could
out?
be the-
Can I shout out to Tom Licks? Tom Licks is a master marketer. He worked at Lake Erie College as a marketing prof.
Oh, wow.
He started Cleveland Whiskey, and it's fascinating what he figured out. You know, that whiskey involves temperature, pressure, motion, surface area. You know, he takes cashed barrels and cuts slots into them, puts them into old cashed, beverage canisters with the mash, puts them on a mechanized rolling, pivot, and then jacks the temperature up and down across the days. That's how he can have whiskey in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because
Wow.
he's accelerated nature. I mean, it's pretty
that was an
fantastic.
issue.
And while he did it because he knew there was a market like in China and Asia, we're getting into bourbon, and there's no way at the 7-year, at the 10-year, that you could ever fulfill on that.
They were saying that about the pandemic because everyone's drinking at home.
I
and
drank so much bourbon during
sales
the
are
pandemic.
so up. They were saying there's going to be a gap. They said if you want tequila, good tequila, you better get out and buy
Thank
it.
you very
Same
much.
thing with certain wines. If the
Not
age
stroke.
and the demand is there's going to be a gap there. So yeah, get out.
And that's
get out and buy
mighty
your
fine,
tissue.
by the way. Which one
So
is
it's
that?
the toilet paper of
So
2022.
Yeah, really.
So shout out to master innovator
aged
Tom
enough.
Licks.
This is the one finished with sugar maple wood.
Sugar maple. You
Well,
had me at
You
sugar
gotta
and
love
maple
that
right
in
there.
a Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Gotta
might
love
have to
them
find
maple stirs.
Ooh, I had a dream
Lot of-
about the Maple Festival last night.
did
yes,
not.
I did. Uh-huh.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of sad. So I'm
Okay.
just let's
Oh,
just say I
well.
had a dream about the Maple Festival.
All right.
last
We're
night.
gonna
Yeah.
leave it right there. But for those of you who don't know, if you hit the Maple Festival, one of the things you must do is they have live demonstrations of maple. It's really distilling. They're cooking down the sap into maple syrup, and they have hot syrup, and they give it to you in a little paper cup with a tongue depressor, and you stir this thing, and you make maple candy
Oh,
on the
so
spot,
smooth. Yeah.
and then you eat it.
Nice.
So the house I grew up in, just 3-minute walk from Chardon Square, right down the hill. You know what I'm talking
Yep,
about.
ham. The fire department has a ham. Come get your ham sandwich. It's a big thing. It's like going back in time.
Pancake breakfast at
1954.
Pilgrim Christian Church too. And my very first Battle of the Bands win was also at the Maple Festival.
Was it really? They do kind of have a good band thing there.
Yeah. We were called Face. Yeah. Me and my buddy Justin Bokiri, who makes
Face.
music out in LA right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Justin. He listens to these podcasts. He's got
alright.
a music school out there called Kid Row.
That sounds really cool. Good for him. Good for him, man.
We are
And it
we are
wouldn't-
all blessed with enterprising, creative,
Wouldn't be a Cuyahoga Sound podcast without shouting out Basement Trader.
Chuck Kaminsky, you mean?
Basement trade with Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck from Arrowhead.
Yes. Now he's got his own deal going on Chestnut Street there in Paynesville. Evan, you just bought a bass off
Wait,
of it?
what's going on?
I
There's a
did,
new
yeah.
store in Paynesville. What's going on with Fabi's?
Not really a store.
Is that gone?
Bobby's is
No,
there.
Bobby's is there.
No, yeah.
Fabi's is on
Chuck
20
runs
though,
Maple. I'm sorry. Chuck runs Basement Trader out of his house.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's
Okay.
got
What's he
It's
doing?
on, go on
Come on.
Facebook.
he does he sells a lot of used gear down there. He can get new stuff too. He got us hooked up with these microphones that we're talking on right now.
Nice.
Wait a second.
Audio Technicas.
Hey
Yes.
man, down there in Stowe, you ever stand out in line for their annual?
I
My
should.
God, I'm gonna bring my
Yes.
flask next time I do that
Yeah.
because it can get kind of cold. Right
Again,
there
it's-
around. The wind whips around that warehouse, and guys are out there like, "I'm coming here for my church. I'm here for my gospel." There's people there for all kinds of reasons.
It's cool as hell though.
Isn't it
Yeah.
cool? That's really cool.
Yeah, Chuck's an area music guy as long as I can remember when I was back in my 20s going to jam nights.
Yeah, he's
Wait,
Run into Chuck
Arrowhead-
all over the place.
Weren't they in an old Red Barn or something?
They are in an old
they
Red
are.
Barn.
Still?
Yes.
That was.
Wow.
I'll say
man.
recent. I know it's been a while now, but they were.
How
over-
many of you
I
here
feel the
actually
same way.
ate at a Red Barn? you know.
That used to be like Red Barn burgers.
And
Jeez,
Burger
man.
Chef was up
Burger
there
Chef.
too.
What do you know about Menor and Burger Chef?
Where do you think I went for my fun?
Well,
You
man,
can only do so much at the Geauga County.
I was
Fair,
gonna say,
let me
yeah.
tell
I
you.
guess
And
going
it's
from
only
Geauga
5
to Lake
days.
County is a big jump in entertainment.
Back then, you could not buy a CD in Chardon. You had to go.
Yes,
to
you
Mass.
could.
You went to Newberry's in
Fisher's
the
Big
mall.
Wheel.
Oh, okay.
Because the one story I have about Fisher's Big Wheel is I moved over to cross country in 9th grade, but in 8th grade I was a tight end at Berkshire High.
Sorry, is that where
junior high
Tractor
football.
Supply is
Yeah,
right now? Is
yeah.
that what you're talking about?
So we're segueing to a story about Fisher's Big Wheel. So I had this thing where I just love those long, like the X Cross, where I'm going to go a little ADD. So, and you're running a 20, 30-yard pass play kind of a thing. And you got to dive, like, literally off the ridge to, like, catch a pass. And I pull it in. Yeah, Ozzie Newsome. And then you do a 5-yard fire pass and bounce right off your pads. And it's rather embarrassing, right? And so my coach, Jerry Hiscox, shout out to you, Jerry, one particular fall day, I was dropping a lot of passes. He says, "Hey, Moss, I hear they're having a sale on hands up at Fisher's Big Wheel. Why don't you run up there and buy yourself a pair?" I'll never forget that.
That's good.
Fisher's Big
That's
Wheel.
when I'm like, maybe this isn't my thing. Maybe I'm more of a band guy.
These two middle fingers on my left hand, like the nail's a little like bent in right
Little
here,
wonky,
and right here.
little,
When I was 3 years old, I smashed my fingers in the elevator there.
Oh,
That for sure. And so I got a little plastic surgery, like
Ever
right here and
since,
here
yeah.
and here. But yeah, that's my that's my only memory, and it's just told to me. I don't remember it visually.
Wow.
But
Yeah, 3
and
years
like
old,
as
yeah.
my visual memory comes up, Big Wheel had gone from there by then.
So here's the thing: as musicians, and some of our favorite musicians, I think the key is like we're talking about all these different eras and times of life, is like if you're paying attention, like, and if you're absorbing, and then you find ways to sort of shoot that back out through your art. I think that's a big part of like the very best artists. Like they just soak it in really hard. And then the stuff that they really have, it's like a comedian, you have a really hard time with the thing that you absorb, and then you throw it back out in your comedy.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the greatest thing about being in a music circle, is we've all had all these like colorful, because we're paying attention to all these quirky ass. I mean, people are strange, and it's great to find a way to channel that into your art.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I think some people are going to listen to some of the stuff of our LP and they'll be like, what the fuck is Moss singing about? And you know what? I'm singing about Paul Busby, who painted over my mural when I came in that summer to finish it. Like, I'm singing about things that were maybe trauma for me in high school and adult life. You know what I mean?
Speaking of things you're singing about, $6 Million Man or Stone Cold Steve Austin
Right
in
on.
there?
Which
Which one?
$6 Million
Okay.
Man.
I was listening.
Talking about Drifter?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Steve Austin, I gotta ask.
Wasn't long
I gotta ask.
before
All
his
right.
rubber sleeve fell apart and Barbie broke his heart
Yep.
when she went back to Ken. Because I got to tell you, Steve was too big. He was really too big for Barbie. He was just all out of proportion. He did have bionic vision and all this. He could jump really high. And he battled Sasquatch in a 2-part episode. But, you know,
Don't date
he's
us.
never going to win. He's never going to win Barbie over.
For the love of
listen,
God.
there was no TV like that.
Don't date us with that.
Remember when the $6 million
I'm
man
32.
battled
I'm 35
that
and out of the loop.
I don't know what the hell.
Anyway, I don't care.
The $100 million guy. What's that all about? I have
Come
no
on,
idea.
Steve Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, the older you get.
Yeah, I never watched wrestling.
I watched WrestleMania 4 last night.
Wow.
My wife was
Is that
thrilled.
Iron Sheik time? What are we talking about back then?
Yeah. So they had, Hulk wrestled Andre.
Oh, that was back. Okay.
They had a.
Was that when he won and body slammed him for the first time?
No, this was. They had a. Listen, brother, nobody believed that he really slammed the giant, and he was going to prove it this time.
Okay.
And he was going to buy. This is one of the best interviews from Hulk Hogan that I love. They're at the Trump Plaza, and he's talking. He's going to body slam him, and it's going to bring the oceans up, and Donald Trump is going to let go of all of his material possessions and climb
That would have saved the world.
and climb on the back of the Hulkster, and he's going to dog paddle him to safety.
What great times we lived in.
Oh, yeah, it was something different, man. It was something
Wow.
else, but
Yeah, times they do change.
Cool.
We
All
ha-
right,
we
let's
have
get
a-
back into the music.
I was going to
Sorry,
say
yeah.
we have a track on the new record called "Our Paddles," and it's this sort of super malleable mashup of a bunch of folk songs. So when I was in elementary school, we had a Great American Songbook type music book that was all old, like pioneer folk songs, like "The Boll Weevil is an insect from Mexico," they say. Like, and we're just sitting there, just looking for a home. What the fuck? Who do we know? A bunch of country kids. Like, these are great songs. And you know, Erie Canal was in that book. And there's this song, "Our Paddles," which is actually around "Our Paddles, keen and bright, flashing with silver." Some people sang that shit at camp, 4-H camp, all that stuff.
Davy Crockett.
Oh, it's all that. And, you know, "This Train," which was one of my favorite versions of that, which is really an old gospel song. It's the Peter, Paul, and Mary version of that. So this song mashes it all up. And so we were at the studio a couple weeks ago. We were actually at another location at my buddy Mike Madnote's out in Berea, and bringing everybody in, like bringing the family in to do all different parts and like sing like chorus parts and stuff. I'm like, what what is this about? But that's the best thing about trusting in your, we're just gonna do it.
We took Winona's Big Brown Beaver
Yeah.
and mixed it in with.
Oh, now you're talking about the box.
No, that's.
Yeah, that's the box.
That's a paddle.
That's the box.
No,
That's
sure?
the box. That's the box.
All right, it's the box.
Put them in the box.
Oh, you
But
guys
that's
better
also
get that
about
straight
high school.
before a release
I don't know
show.
what kind of teachers you had. I mean, but we had some rough ones. I had teachers, 2 history teachers that taught my mom.
Well, I didn't get paddled. I know that much.
I did.
I was of the paddle
I did.
generation.
We had
several
lots
times.
of paddles. Yeah. So anyway, what I like about the record is we're stretching, and I have a thing where, even though we're a 2-piece, as much as I can, I want to bring other people in. So we have brought other people in. We've got an old friend, John Nelson, who lives in Columbus, who went to school with this guy over here.
I grew up with him.
He's a bit of a scallywag. But anyway, he's a hell of a baritone player, and he's going to end up playing baritone on a couple of tracks. Like, it's really kind of a morphine kind of a thing. I don't know if there's any morphine fans out there, but that was a big band for me in the 90s. I loved morphine, man. So I think one of the things, too, is you get into the studio and you're like, well, what are we, and what's our sound? And guess what? I don't care. Like, I know what I like. And so this record, as opposed to the EP, crosses a lot of ground. It's very cross-genre, right? Cool. There's a song called Time for That where we're going to be singing to an AI, and hopefully Shayla Hope's going to be a part of that. And I don't know if listeners out there know who Shayla is, but she's maybe one of the most talented pop vocalists out there, let alone in Cleveland. And she's been working on her pop record for 2 years, and now she's got some wonderful contacts and doing some final mixing. And she plays a theremin. So I've also invited her in to play theremin on this song that's a bit more of an epic ballad on dealing with anxiety, like chronic mental health kind of stuff. She's going to bring that in. And, I think my favorite thing about... I'm realizing this is nothing new. The greatest thing about being in the music industry is when you can put down your guard and you can just mix it up and be with other artists. I mean, it's been really great. Our new producer is super open. He's all the way in. He's challenging me as a vocalist. I tend to have a real alto soprano way, but I don't always have confidence in that high place. And he's just saying, why don't you just sing? Like, you get in the studio and things can clam up and you get a little too, you know what I mean? You get a little too polished. It just it's like being on camera. Yeah, better go get my beard trimmed. But being in that nest, and then we've had more people there when we're recording. Good buddy Mike, incredible bass player, reminds me of some other bass players I know that can just walk and move around but always know where the root is, right? Kind of the Phil Lesh way. And he's like laying on the ground and I'm tracking. And then he's on the couch, and we're on to another track, like My Weekend of Sessions or whatever it was, because we've kind of had to spread it out during the pandemic with family and COVID and all this. And he's got the headphones on. He was so chill about all this bass we're laying down that he, passed out. There might have been some other, substances involved, but, it was really great. And then you're getting immediate feedback. Like, if you bring your tribe into the studio a little bit, like, you don't want overload. You don't need Yoko sitting next to you. But, you bring your people in, and it actually fuels up, any doubt that can come. I think every great artist, you get into the studio and you're like, what the? You doubt that. And it's been pretty special. I know it's taken us a year. I know some albums take even longer. But I'm really looking forward to getting some of the stuff finished up. And we're looking at bringing in somebody to do the mix mastering. So Jim Stewart, Jim Wirt, there's some people that we know, and Teddy Eisenberg has been super supportive. I have to bring him up because, and by the way, if you haven't been to Coffee on Pearl Road in Old Brooklyn, you got to go. All right, putting that out there. It's just a trip. And how long you been here? I've never been here. Like, 4 years. So, I'm like, it's such a joke. I feel like a joke, like, really? But this place is cool.
Cool. Meathead
But
through
Teddy's
Shiloh.
really an evangelist, right? And he's working with Shayla and the sublets, and but he's like high octane collaborator, high octane, like serious about elevating what people are trying to do in Cleveland, because it's not easy. And the other thing that's been really good for me, and Russ doesn't really get to see some of this, is I'm a member of the board for Cindy's Cleveland Rocks Past, Present, Future. I'm the secretary of the board. And during COVID, when COVID hit, that group raised like over 30 grand in artist relief funding. And they started, it's grocery money, it's keep the lights on money, but they ended up putting out in grants to dozens and dozens of artists in that first 6 months to a year of the pandemic. And it saved a lot of people. And so being around that and seeing, some of my board members like David Spiro and Fishman, like these people that are really successful business people in the industry or business people in commercial property, and how much love they have for the Beachland alone. It's like the temple of temples, and but then that really started to sort of take Cindy's nonprofit and put real wheels under it. So that's been that's been a really great thing for the whole industry in the last 2 years. Is the way Kathy over at the Grog Shop and all Wasserman over at Happy Dog. I mean, between those three and then the National Independent Venues Association, I mean, they literally lobbied Congress to get millions of dollars legislated for venues like the Beachland all over the country. Right on? Yeah. And so I've been kind of at the center of that. It doesn't distract me from the band thing. What it does is it makes me feel like I kind of owe it back to the scene to keep doing it. Right? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm
Dude,
kind of I'm not gonna cry.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you on behalf of everybody for being involved with that and making those wheels turn.
I don't think people realize how hard people like Cindy Barber and her team, and it's deep and wide, and it's people of all walks, right?
Cindy
and
Barber
how hard, Cindy Barber, Beachland
from
Ballroom.
Beachland, yeah.
I love you, Cindy. I mean, how hard she works just to save her venue. I mean, they've had to dig up the fucking floor. They found like a leak that probably is going through to Bosnia-Herzegovina. I don't know, but they couldn't find the water for months. But chefs like Steve Schmoller, who had started Crop, he's most famous for Crop restaurants, helped her build out a legit kitchen. And we've been over there for 5 years, artists in residence, and it's a little dicey. It can be a little bit of a ghost town certain nights. You practice on Monday and you come out looking for something to do, and it's like, So they're working really hard to make that a destination.
So you were involved in the upgrade of the kitchen there?
Well, no, I'm just, during when COVID hit, there was a whole lot of opportunity for every business in the country to get the PPP loans, and they jumped right on that. And it's really those loans that allowed them to renovate. Mm-hmm. They expanded that vintage store, which has got to be one of the best vintage stores in the state.
No way out.
In the Midwest, right on. And it's just, I'm not involved in all that, but it's so great to get the reports and to hear what's going on. Like, that's great.
You get to hear like the only good news going on.
Right. I mean, because our friends in the restaurant community didn't have it, so they weren't quite as fortunate. I mean, that was a tough thing too. But here we are.
Cool.
Season 3.
Yeah, right on. Season 3.
Already.
Episode.
Let's take a second towards the end here to talk about you guys again.
Yeah,
All right, cool.
I'm sorry. Don't let me get off on a tangent. I'm the king of that.
Hey, it's all
You got
right.
to take a breath first before we can stop.
You could slap
It's
me.
all right. We are here
Oh, I
with
can't? All right.
Mossom, Cleveland duo.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, what? Tell us about the bass guitars you use.
I'm a card-carrying member of the Lakeland Bass. Once upon a time, I had an opportunity to tour with Mo and my band Cats and Jammer, which was based out of Bloomington, Indiana. Had dear friends with some of the guys from Mo.
You were
And
the openers.
Yeah.
Cool.
We actually went on the road with them and more of a Midwest thing for like 3 months, and I needed the proper gear. So I did some research. There was a place in Louisville, Kentucky, and what I liked about it was called Bass World. I liked that first and foremost. But they had about a dozen makes down there, like manufacturers, and so I had been looking at so many different brands. I'm like, I got to get down there. So we drove down there, and I played, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 finalists, right? And I started with this Lakeland. And it turns out it was like number 56, the first year they made the Made in America, the 5-string 55, 98 or whatever, the Skyline Deluxe. Beautiful quilted maple, all this. And, I just fell in love with it. And that was my bass for that tour. And then fast forward to this band, and that bass had some problems. It had a double warp in the neck, and they took it in. And they repaired it, but it didn't last. I need to get a new neck on that. But anyway, I got one of their Korean-made 5501s, another 5-string. It's got like dual soap bar Bartolini's, and it might be even a dated, kind of axe, but it's super long. There's only like 2 or 3 manufacturers of strings that I can fit on this. It's a really long B string, right? So why would you have a 5th string if it didn't sound like a piano string? So that's really something special about that bass. That B string is the selling factor of that bass. And this was the largest collector of Music Man basses in the world. And he says, I want to make a better Music Man, so he started to build Lakelands. And now if you look on the tours, there's a lot of great artists playing Lakelands. It's just reliable. I take that thing out. I can have that thing in the case for a week, 2 weeks, take it out, and it's totally in tune. I mean, it's solid.
It was fun how we got that. We bought it from a group that we played with that lived up in Erie. And
That's right.
And I ended up meeting them down off 90
At
the Waffle House. And that was like this one, I got a package I'm going to pick up at the Waffle House. And there's this bass, and that thing has been, rode hard
We
and
named
put
it
away
Dora.
wet.
Well, listen, there's this. We practice in an old daycare facility that used to be a bowling alley, but it still smells like poopy diapers. I swear to God. So, but on the door is this picture of Dora painted with the little number 2 on her basketball. She's got a basketball, and she's in a basketball jersey. I had no idea Dora was a basketball player, by the way.
And she's got 6 thumbs.
So we did name the bass.
6 fingers on one hand.
We did name the bass Dora. That is Dora. But I picked up a new Yamaha 4-string because I have to say, we've talked about getting into a Police live kind of thing, not a tribute band, but more of like their live punk rock roots and reggae kind of thing. And so I wanted a 4-string to get back there because I've been playing 5-string for like 20 years.
Which works perfectly for me because I never play the same thing twice. And if you listen to Stuart Copeland live, neither does he.
Yeah.
He's all over the place. So I'm like, we're not going to play tribute. I'm not going to have some guy say, that's not the feel he did on the record. Like, we're playing live, buddy. Mind your business.
So, Evan, one of my favorite things about the bass, and I'll wrap up the whole talk on basses, is when we got into the LP, Mike Williams is one of these guys, like if he wants a piece of gear, he just goes and gets it. So his first instrument was drums. He moved into bass, and he has 2 or 3 Fenders. He's got a Tobias Growler, which was a really popular bass in the 90s. And some of them are basses that he bought for certain projects, right? We had a whole afternoon at Pixie House Studios where I tried out the basses. And they were all through my new Mezza Boogie Subway and my SWR Triad, which is just a wonderful cabinet. Bought that for when we were doing records in Bloomington. So it's vintage now. It's just perfect. And I tried out like 8, 9 different basses, and including mine. And we just decided, these are the 4 bass. These are the basses we're going to use on the record. That was super special, right? Because then we were able to actually kind of pair basses with certain songs, but always the Lakeland was under there. So one song, My Son, which is a really driving. It's not really. I'm not a Disturbed fan, but it's like this really up the middle kind of rocking song. We layer the Tobias over the Lakeland, and it really kicks a hole through the wall. It's really great. So tone-wise, I'm able to get so much.
You have the Lakeland on every track?
Pretty much, yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
there's a couple tracks where I use a Fender Jazz.
Cool.
Right around this time, Geddy's bass book came out, Geddy Lee's book, and I got it as a gift, and I'm like, huh. So I'm like, I can't just play one bass in the studio. Like, I got to move around, and I'm definitely a big love of, I don't have a Rickenbacker. I probably need to go there. I played one at Sweetwater. We talked about Sweetwater. Whew, man, the new Rickies are nice.
Cool.
Anyway.
Let's shift over to drum kit.
Yeah.
Blue Sparkle Tama?
The Divas.
Chuck, I don't have your depth of buying vintage drums for sure.
Is that what that is? Is that a Tama?
No, this is Yamaha, but they had the Copeland signature kit they did a couple of years ago that was a Tama, like Midnight Blue Sparkle.
Oh yeah.
They were like $7,000, I think.
Well,
Not cheap.
that's why I went to Sweetwater to buy the snare drum, the
Okay.
Stuart Copeland snare drum, and they were out of them. So I got a Gretsch that was very comparable and very solid. So I've
That's the metal.
yeah, I've never been really married to anything. I just kind of go with what I like and what I feel. So for years I had a Tama Superstar, which had the hyper toms, the really shallow toms, and I was in a reggae ska band at the time, so it gave me a lot of high end pop. So I had that.
Pirates.
Pirates of the Burning River. Boy, that was a fun
Should
little
bring that band
project.
back.
That was a fun little project. We actually played Rover Fest.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I remember that.
We were on the radio. I'll never forget. I was at work, and they're
Bring it back. Come on,
dude. Let me tell you,
Roverfest.
I'm at work, and normally it was pretty quiet, and then all of a sudden I had like 4 people around. It was this big thing, and I was literally like, they were making the announcement, and I had to tell everyone, guys, I love you all, but I'm not in this right now. I'm listening to see if we just got picked. And sure enough, the Rover goes, okay, so the winner of his plane is Pirates of the Burning River. And I'm just like, holy shit, we just got picked. So we got to play there at Lake County Captain Stadium that year. So
That's a good venue.
oh, my
Come
gosh.
on.
So we played the big stage and the big blah, 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 blah. And, we went off first.
10,000 watts.
We didn't care. There were, people were just funneling in, and we didn't care, but we had a great time. That was really cool, and that was a feather in the hat. That was that was a really hundreds of bands around here were trying to get in there, and we got picked. They just whittled it down, so that was fun. So I used my my Tama for that band, and even into
Wait,
Mossom.
that's a tour. What is that Tama? That's a great drum set.
Yeah, it's
the
a superstar,
super,
and
yeah.
it's got the shallow toms.
Is that before they added like the snare floor tom, whatever the hell they call them now? But the floor tom on those now in those hyperdrive kits is also a snare drum. Like
Oh,
a
no,
big
yeah, no,
fat
this
sounding
one's-
snare.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah.
We need to try that out. Are you
Yeah.
listening, Tama? Hashtag Tama drums.
So yeah, so I used that for a long time, and I had that kick forever, and then I just needed something new. Every drummer goes through that. It's time for something new. So
Well, you wanted something different for this LP.
yeah, I wanted
thought,
something
let's go.
for with a little more, with a little more boom.
Oh my God.
And
It's a
so I
great
went with it.
sound.
I was looking at the DW kits because DW, who doesn't look at those? So I settled on the DW Performance Series. So they had a great deal at Sweetwater. So I got another 7-piece.
That's a beautiful gel stain
And it's a
on that.
beautiful
like red gel
cherry
stain.
lacquer.
Yeah.
It's shiny, so it's got the red and with the black head, and we do a lot of black and red with our color scheme. So
It's important. No, it is.
Well, you even have the limited prints going on right now, right?
We
we did bring
by
one.
golly, we have one for you.
No shit.
Yeah, we brought one for you.
Oh, that's so cool.
You gotta find room.
Oh, we're gonna
Well.
have to get it up over here.
Come on.
See it, you know.
So yeah, so now I'm a DW guy, so to speak. It's my first time I've had. We kind of call it the divas because
They are divas. Oh my
I've
God.
never had a tune and tweaks a lot, and I'm like, you know what, I kind of like to set it and forget it of my Tamla, and the only time
This
I'd have
is
to do
not
any,
Ronco.
the only time I have to tune it was when I changed the damn head, and on this DW it's a little more finicky, and I gotta.
Do the performance series have the fine threads like the
Maybe-
collector series?
I have to look at that. Maybe that's why.
Okay,
'Cause
yeah.
even the bass lugs kind of back out, and I'll have to check bass lugs here and
Evan,
there.
are we? I'm just barely. I'm by a thread keeping up. We're getting deep. We're
So
getting deep.
DW, like they advertise that you can like have more control over your tuning because there's more threads per inch on the
well,
lugs.
Guess what? Maybe
So-
those let loose because his stuff is kind of.
Have you checked out the tuner fish?
I have not.
I will disappear. You guys can talk
Yeah, no.
amongst yourselves.
No, yeah. So
Well, can I?
So that's always-
I have to interject though. With his session, and we recorded it in a large. Our producer built his own.
oh,
home.
it just hits, and then it won't go any further.
Yes. The tuner
You
fish.
just saved this guy's life and me.
They're
a
on all
lot
my
of heartburn.
snares because I
'Cause
always
hear
have snares going.
Every rehearsal, he's like, "I'm just not happy." Like he's over there.
No, I'm not. Wait a minute. You did not just go there. He is projecting like no one has ever projected before.
I'm a projector.
I literally threatened to kick him out of the band if he wouldn't, during song, bend down, try to sing, and adjust knobs on the bass.
We adjust knobs on the pedals during.
I
it.
don't care how much you adjust knobs before and after, but during the fucking song.
I mean, during a performance, it's
can't do
got
it.
to be in there.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, we battle sometimes. I'll be over here.
Sometimes you drink too much, you fall over, and you twist.
Yeah, I probably should have been a DJ. You know, lots of tweaking.
But yes, I definitely have a. There's certainly a feng shui when I sit and I play, and if things aren't set up right, I'm like, God, it's fucking. I can't get comfortable.
I hear you.
He
But
just
yes.
saved your life.
But I might have
Over
to.
here.
Let me tell you. Here's another story.
Everyone that's-
Here's a story. I invented something, and I'm so pissed. And if I could just smash
We
this
weren't gonna-
guy, and I'm not bringing him up, but I invented
Come on, no war.
the quick lock that you have. Those Vader, the quick lock symbol.
Yes.
I invented those, and I'll tell you why.
That is
Before
a
those-
tall claim.
Damn right it is.
Wow.
And you could check
I
out.
gotta sit back.
You could check out the date, but I started. I was thinking about this back in the '90s, and I started with a new company working in 2004, and I actually pitched it to the owner of the company, and he kind of just was like, "Oh yeah." So basically, I got the idea from your tassels on your jackets when they made those little spring-loaded ones, and I'm like, and every drummer's like fucking wing nuts, flipping wing nuts. So I'm like, oh, this could just slide up and down. I'm like, oh. So I went and I pitched it to him. I'm like, hey, we do this because we did injection molding. I'm like, So it was fine, and it just kind of fizzled away. And I swear to God, like a couple years later, I was opening up a Guitar Center catalog, and sure as shit, Vic Firth, I think, came out with the first one. And it was like the quick thing, and it was the same little
You
push
gotta
button
move,
thing.
baby.
And I sat
Rule
there.
of entrepreneurship.
I stared
Move.
at that article, and I was red, man. I ripped it out, and I circled it, and I put it on
You
his
just-
desk, and I'm like, and I don't know why I'm blaming him. It's my own damn fault.
But you gotta move. You
But-
just gotta move.
But it was a good idea, and now everybody's got the quick lock, quick.
They're fantastic.
And they are
so
fantastic.
thank you for your contribution.
So my brain waves shot that out to some engineer, and
It's out there in the ether.
it was out
Somebody
there.
picked
Russ, you
it up.
should
Yeah.
write a song about that.
So yeah, so
Hey, Russell, we got to thank you very, very much for making it possible for the rest of us.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
I do want to make a disclaimer. When I listen to even the raw mixes of the record, it is a drummer's record. I mean, it's really like if you love to listen to drums, you're gonna
Yeah,
like
I
this
love it.
record. It's and
We
that's a
can't wait to hear
compliment.
it,
Like,
yeah.
like it almost. I'm just over here. Yeah, I'm over here doing a thing like vaudeville. But the drums, the sounds come, the capture of the drums because the producer's a drummer. You can imagine.
It might be a little drum
It's
forward.
peerless. Well, I've had to say, yeah, those drums are a little forward. I've said that a few times already. But I don't mind. I just want to make sure you can hear what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, we'll write that down. We'll make a note of that.
Yeah,
we're
right.
looking- we're
and
looking
then
at
you'll
the,
burn it.
So
You
we're
know.
looking at the end of April, right now
For the full?
Yeah.
I think
Man,
that's. I think it
would love
depends on who we end up with it for mixed mastering. I think if we pop out a single, a pre-release, let's do 2 or 3 pre-releases, the 222 or.
I gotta think Q2.
Cool. Just don't do your release day on the 29th or 30th because there's stuff going on that day with our buddy Dave, Dreadlock Dave's musical.
The live audience today. This is our first live studio audience.
I keep pointing at Dave like, right, Dave, right.
That's awesome.
We need a studio audience.
Actually, I think that could be your new thing, man.
First
At
step
least
into a
one or
bigger
two.
world right
It's
there.
We'll start hosting at the Beachland.
Yeah.
Hey,
have an
I
audience?
have a line in on that. I could, there's
cool.
podcasts that are going to
Got to take it out of the basement.
Why
right?
can't
That's-
this podcast be on the ClevelandRocks.org website? Let's see what we can do to get it up there.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
All the Cleveland music podcasts that are out there. There's a good couple.
Yeah, there's
Let's put them on a page. Let's do it.
We're looking to do our first live broadcast soon here, so
Well, maybe
We'll
we do
talk
it in
more
the
about
tavern.
that.
Come on.
I was
let's
just checking out Stairway to Cleveland. Is a
After
new
party
one.
at Mossom
That one's very
studio.
cool.
the green room
Yeah.
at the Beachland, for Vibe and Color, we're gonna be talking about doing that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
It's news to me. All right.
just a cache of ideas flowing out
Yeah,
of this
that's
table.
What happens
it's all
down here,
about.
yeah.
That's
right.
what it's all about.
All right.
We haven't started any new LLCs yet, but I'm guessing after this broadcast, it's not a broadcast, it's a podcast. We'll be signing some operating agreements.
Well, in the meantime,
Patents, anyone? I've
in
got
the
a new
meantime,
mic
as we
clip.
wrap up this podcast, do you guys have a movie recommendation for our listeners out there?
Oh, like a movie? Well, if you haven't watched the Get Back 3-part for the Beatles, you're really, if you're a musician and you haven't watched that, then you don't really want to be validated. You know what I'm saying?
This is going to come out too late for it, but for the people that are in the room right now, they're showing it in IMAX on Sunday.
Oh, that.
So-
Wait,
Oh,
what,
I
like
really-
6 hours? Would I need to bring a bladder bag?
I think so, but it's going to be an
Oh, my
IMAX thing.
goodness.
I'm
Wow.
going down to Austin. Check
you're
online.
going to
I'm going to
Austin
Austin
to
on. No, I'm going there for a marketing thing, a
Okay.
marketing convention. But yes, this Sunday. Sorry,
What's the
listeners.
convention? That's great.
It is a pay-per-click convention going on down there.
Boy,
So
wow. Make
yeah.
sure you
The Hero
wear
Convention
your new
it's called.
sneakers.
Chuck's doing
You
big
go to
things in
marketing conferences, like you look down, like you start looking at other people's shoes, like, how do my shoes stack up? It's a thing. It's a thing, man. No, but I have to comment just briefly on that because I'm not even through. Like, I'm taking it in these chunks. But I think the thing, if you're a musician that spent any time in the studio, that spent any time in a band of any duration, like, you have all these different voices. You have all this. You even have bad self-talk, right? But you see the Beatles in their, in their heyday, but also in their hard burn. Like, they did so much. They were so prolific in a short amount of time. So you see that they're pretty worn out.
Yeah,
It's
less than
so
10 years they did
much
everything.
like
Yeah.
what it's like. It's like you watch it and it's super validating. Like, let's just start this thing and we'll just riff on words, and it's not going to be the final words, but we have to go.
Yeah.
I was
Because
watching-
actually, we have 2 weeks to write all these songs.
You find out how similar
It's
their
so
situation is to everything you've been through.
And they had a different thing. They had time
Mm-hmm.
of life. They had their success behind them. They had built their own little studio, and here they are. That's when it really came alive, when they went back to their basement
Oh, yeah.
studio. Like, it was, they're in this huge soundstage, and it was just awkward and weird to the point where they almost blew up.
Yeah.
And I think every musician should watch it to learn about themselves, like to see themselves. And that's not me saying, I'm like the Beatles. No, but we are. We're all band people. We're all bandos.
And that's that
It's
creative.
just super affirming.
We all have the same creative. No, I shouldn't say the same, but we all have the same creative process. We're all, your mind is always working. In fact, I happened to watch that Paul McCartney one that was on Hulu.
With Rick Rubin.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A little bit of it, but I had to laugh.
Yeah.
Because you think these deep
Big
meanings, like
hero.
everything the
I love
Beatles
Rick.
thought of was just had to be so deep and
No.
meaningful. Well, he was saying about Sgt. Pepper's, how that came up was he was at lunch with one of the guys in the group, and the guy asked him if he could pass the salt and pepper. And he goes, "What'd you say, Sergeant Pepper?"
Sergeant Pepper.
And boom, that was born. Like, just out of passing this. And I'm like, oh. And, it's kind of like, not a letdown, but you're like, oh, that's easy right there. Like, you're thinking, how the hell they come up with
It's
such
going
a...
back to running with it.
Can you
It's going
pass
back
the
to
salt and
believing
pepper
in it.
and Sergeant Pepper? Like,
But it became what it is because of the platform they already had.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. But also,
but
what else?
It's great art. So like great art doesn't have to could be from such a simple thing like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's all about like intention and like follow through of doing it.
Do you think watching a show like that helps you understand? It's like watching Survivor. It's organizational psych. Like it allows you to maybe accept power structures in every organization. Like Paul works his ass off. You see him come in and then he takes the heat because he's like telling people what to play.
Yeah.
Like, but guess what? He's there in and around in the off hours, like bringing it. He's bringing it. Like it's really interesting to see the different work styles and the power structures. And we have to kind of accept that those are going to happen in our projects. Because sometimes it's awful because they're really out of whack, but they're going to happen. Like, because everyone comes at creative with a different intensity. So I'm learning a shit ton from that, and it's a great documentary.
Absolutely.
That's my movie I'm recommending.
All right.
I think. I don't know about the new Matrix movie. I thought that was a tribute movie. I would put it out there, but I wouldn't recommend it, I don't think.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
All right.
I guess that'll wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up with
tonight.
Mossom.
All
here.
right. So, Mossom, guys, thank you so much for being here.
that was great.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much,
great
Russ
to
and
get out.
David from
It's great to
Mossom.
get out, man.
Good to see you guys again.
Nice
Thanks
to
for
see you
having
guys
us.
too. Yeah.
Cool.
All
And
right.
thank you.
Until next time, I'm Evan Stone.
I'm Chuck Schilling.
And this has been another episode of the Cuyahoga Sound Podcast.
Peace.
Peace.